is a beautiful morning. It's June 10th, around 9:45, about 65 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to cool down a little bit today, and that's always nice. I like to get out in the garden on these kind of days and transition over to the summer garden. So I'm going to plant some tomatoes, but meanwhile I just want to show you guys here what I have growing. As you can see here, the red romaine lettuce is bolting, so that will be chicken food today. I will pull that out and feed it to my girls. Now I have some frisee that looks wonderful still, and then of course little heads of lettuce all in this original, no I'm sorry, this is the leaf GreenStalk, so 7 tiers here, looking good. And then I have beans. Now I got spotty germination on my bean seeds, so I went back about probably 3 days ago, popped in some more bean seeds of a different variety. So I'll have green and yellow bush beans here probably in another 45 days, I would say. And I actually planted a nasturtium seed in this little hanging pot, but it did not come up for me. And I think it rotted because I planted it pretty early. But I did have some holy basil reseed in there for me, so that's nice. I have a lot of holy basil, or the Tulsi basil, all through the garden. And so over here to the right, it's just about 4 tiers of the leaf planter, and I have scallions on top. I also have some Tulsi holy basil that has reseeded. I have a lot of that has reseeded in the garden and was in the soil, and that's perfectly fine with me. I'm just pulling out the ones I don't want and keeping the ones that I do because I really like that. And then the second tier is some more scallions. There's some more scallions there, and I planted those well after the top tier. As you can see, those are much more mature. And then parsley on the third tier, and more crisp lettuce on the bottom. And I've moved this over to my shade line. My house will shade this area about, I'd say, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So those won't be hit with that really hot afternoon sun. My arugula as well, I have moved that over here to my shade line. And I've been making a lot of salads, so I'm going to pull some of that arugula today. And what I love to put in my arugula salads is some red onion with some blue cheese crumbles, some maple glazed walnuts, some fresh cooked bacon bits, and cucumber. And then when tomatoes come in, obviously I'll put those in there, but a lot of times they don't overlap from the garden, so neither do the cucumbers. But I always put cucumbers in my salads. And I use that dressing that I like to make that I showed you guys, I think last year. I'll leave a link to it if you missed that dressing with olive oil and flaxseed oil. It's real easy and delicious. Okay, and then also in my shade line is this little planter here. This is an original. I'm experimenting with trying to grow the crisp lettuce for the summer for my BLTs. So we'll see how that does. And then I have carrots, fennel. The fennel is looking pretty good here. I have cauliflower. I don't expect that it'll head up a lot, but the little cabbage butterflies have found it. And I did not spray, but that's okay. This is kind of an experiment just to see how that cauliflower would do. And then on the bottom is celeriac. All right, so now as far as my summer garden here, I have peppers on the top of this original tier, along with some more of the Tulsi basil. That was all volunteer reseeded from last year. So you see I got a lot of that. And then I have a purple cayenne pepper here, along with growing a lot of the Polish dwarfs this year in the original planters. I also just have some sun gold. I'm trying eggplant this year. I think it's called little finger eggplant. Of course, basil, regular Italian basil. That's actually I think mammoth leaf. So we'll see how that does. So a lot of Polish dwarf. Now what I did with my Polish dwarf is I just took a solo cup, put a lot of seeds in there, and then let them sprout, let them grow, and then I just transferred them out of the cup, separated them down, and popped them in here into the original. Okay, I'll leave you some video footage of that. Makes it a lot easier to start your tomato plants. And you can see now, I guess that was probably 3 weeks ago that I did that. And you can see how nice and mature they are now. Now I'm also propagating lemongrass. I had a huge container of lemongrass in my garage. I always overwinter it. And it was so root bound, so I just broke it all up. And I guess I got about 25 stalks of lemongrass out of there. So I have been propagating it and putting it everywhere. So you want to just put it in some water. It'll grow roots. If you don't have a lemongrass plant already, you can just get one from the Asian market and get several, because some of them will not take and grow roots, but you should get some growing roots. And that's real good for fighting cancer. There's a lot of studies out now on lemongrass about fighting cancer. So I started growing it about 17 years ago. And there were just a couple of studies out then that it was good for fighting cancer. Now there's a lot more studies for lung cancer, colon cancer. So I'll leave links to those studies down below the video in the description area if you wanted to check that out. Okay? Real easy to grow. You can grow it indoors. As a matter of fact, see, I'm just sticking little stalks that have roots on them in just any pot that I can find. I'm sticking them in the garden. It will not overwinter in my area, so I have to bring it indoors. Now we've been getting a lot of rain lately, and so here are some of my starts. I have not moved them into my garden yet, but I plan to. There's a lot of peppers, a lot of leftover tomatoes, and then I have sweet potatoes. So I'm waiting to harvest my potatoes out of my raised beds, and then I'll pop in the sweet potatoes behind them. Now I did go ahead and empty out an original container that I had up here of Austrian crescent potatoes, and I harvested those early, so they're just wonderful. I've been so enjoying those. Real thin skin when you get them when they're young, and have so much flavor. And so I'm taking that original right now and I am planting it. So I'm starting with tomatoes, and these are the Matt's Wild Cherry. Now those reseed for me every year as well. Really nice to have those just pop up in the garden. So what I'll do is when I see them, I'll just get my little scooper shovel and scoop them right up, and I'll pop them into my planters. Okay? Now, sometimes a lot of your different little small cherry or currant tomatoes will do that. I noticed the Matt's Wild Cherry always does that. And this was the biggest one I got. I moved it in there over the weekend, and so it's starting to root down, and it's a little more happy than it was when I first pulled it out. It was not liking me too much when I pulled it out of the garden. It was very, very wilted. Okay, and then the sweet bay laurel, I think it dried out on me just a little bit because I noticed some yellowing of the leaves, so I'm starting to give it some more attention. Lots of water. And then the dahlias are up and doing very well here. I think that's called the Barn Bounty. It's supposed to be a 10-inch salmon-colored flower. So I'll be real happy if those come up. Now, with this particular planter, it has a watering system down here, and we've gotten so much rain lately. I just do that, and that helps take the water out of the planter if you have too much water in there. So I'll just empty that out some so they don't drown or get root rot or anything like that. Same thing with that one. But I really like these. They're called tomato planters, but I've used them for the dahlias, and they did great. So, and then I've also have not shown you guys, but I'm working down there now, planting out peppers. So I'm hoping to have about 4 planters of peppers this year, maybe more even. And I want to do them kind of in a rainbow of colors, because there's so many exciting new colors over there at GreenStalk. And since the name of my channel is Rainbow Gardens, I thought it'd be fun to do an area with rainbow colors of my planters. Okay, so there you have it. That is the garden here in June. I hope you guys got something out of this little walk through my garden. If you have any questions at all, please leave them down below in the comment section, and I will be more than happy to try to help you. And again, you get $10 off a purchase of $75 or more when you use my code Rainbow Gardens at checkout for GreenStalk. And then You can also get a code for the Vego planters. I'm using this right now from Vego Gardens, as well as the little dahlia planters. And so I have discount codes below this video as well for those if you'd like to check it out. Thanks so much for watching, and y'all have a beautiful day.